And this has been some like next level stuff that I've been working on just in the past like year and a half. I've gone through many different belief systems that I've had to work through with my relationship with money. I would say this is the one that I'm still working on mastering, if I'm going to be honest and vulnerable here with you. Hey, it's Nichole Kellerman-Worth, CEO of WildBeAlive.com, where we help women get on the same team as their bodies so they can feel and look their best. When a woman realizes how badass her body is, she feels alive and is no longer afraid to create the life she's always wanted. I know this to be true because it's happened to me and thousands of our clients. Welcome to the journey of getting on the same team as your body. Hello. It is Nichole here, the CEO of Wildly Alive, coming at you with a new topic that I think is, at face value, you're going to really wonder why we're talking about this. But I promise you, as you go through these 4 episodes for the podcast for the month, it's going to really, really land with you why this topic is so incredibly important. So, last month we talked about sisterhood, and again, like at face value, you wonder how that plays into your relationship with self and your body. And I hope that going through that podcast and maybe even going through Sisterhood Rising, the free experience that we did in the playground group, really, really drove the point across that it does affect your relationship with self. And so for this month, so that was a lifestyle pillar. For this month, we are moving onto a mindset pillar. And we're talking about your relationship with money. So we have a class this month called The Weight of Money. And it's a class that is based in our relationship with money and self. And we do this really beautiful process where we actually even manifest money. During the whole class, we're going through this manifestation process. We pick an amount that we'd like to manifest. There's these beautiful worksheets that go with it. And as we are manifesting money, we're looking at our belief system behind it. And also, how much do we trust ourselves? How much do we trust money? What is our complicated relationship with money, and how does that tie into our relationship with our bodies as well? And so it's really comprehensive in that sense. And as you kind of go through these podcasts, you're going to learn some really beautiful tidbits that we dive into during the class. If you don't end up joining us for the class, you will still get some value, of course, here in the podcast. But, like I have had, like with most people, a complicated relationship with money. I have read more money mindset books than I probably am proud to even say. Like it's a lot. I really wanted to start, I would say in around 2009, I really wanted to increase my net worth. And I really wanted to start changing my relationship with money because I had a relationship with money that I did trust that money was always going to be there, but it was tied into my time and it was tied into hustle and working hard. And, I'd always had, since the minute I could work, I started working when I was 14, I always had multiple jobs. I was just like a straight up hustler. I always had multiple jobs and, while going to school. And so at a very young age, my belief in money was that money will always be there as long as I'm hustling, and in that very masculine sense of going and doing and making it happen. So there was a lot of force and there was a lot of control. And what I started to realize in 2009 is there's like a cap to my time. And so I really started to question, how was I going to create the level of wealth that I really wanted to without working even more? And at that point, I was maxed. I was working as many jobs as I possibly could. I was working as many days as I possibly could. And I was feeling really, like that glass ceiling financially was definitely there. And so then I started really exploring money mindset. And the very first book that I read was Secrets to a Millionaire's Mind by T. Harv Eker. And he talks about your money blueprint. And this was a fascinating idea for me of, we all are born with this certain blueprint around money and a belief system around money, and our blueprint matches like the ones of our parents and how we were raised. And one of the hardest things to rise above from is that mindset that you were raised with your parents. So yeah, and so that was really, really fascinating to me. And at the same time, I was just starting to date my now husband, Zach, who had a completely different money blueprint than I did. And watching him and watching his relationship with money and how he felt about money and things like that really, really shed some light on my own belief system around it. He really did trust money was always going to be there. And he had a lot more laid back relationship with it, which mine was like more of scarcity and fear and lack of trust, and I need to hustle and I need to move and I need to make this happen, and there's no relaxing, and relaxing can't happen. And it was a lot of anxiety around money, even though money was there for me. I had from an outsider looking in, I really had my shit together. I always in high school, I always had $3,000 in the bank. That was my bottom line in high school. And I saved up enough money to buy myself a car. And I felt really, really proud of that car. It was a what was it? I don't know what year it was, but it was just like a little Jetta. And I love that little thing. Like, I was so grateful for that. I worked really, really hard for that. And, but there was still a lot of fear and scarcity at the root of it. And, witnessing Zach's more laid back, trusting relationship with money and like how his family oriented with money, it definitely shined light on where my money blocks were, and so I could start working through them. So I have been continually upping and challenging my money mindset since that time, and have been continuing to grow my net worth. And, as a lot of coaches say, like, new level, new devil, like, you up level, and then as long as you're willing to push that edge, then you can rise, but you just have things that you need to work through. And so that has been continual for me, is like, how can I continuously grow my net worth, grow my money mindset, and really challenge this belief system that in order to receive money, I have to work really hard. That has been at the bottom of it. Now, the interesting thing when we start looking at our relationship with our bodies, so this is what I started to notice. As I started to dive into this conversation around money, and, I was getting into the coaching world and would hire money coaches and things like that, when I started to really think about it, I was like, wow, I could just replace the word money with body and it would still make sense. And that's where I started to see this very interesting intersection between money and our bodies, and how the conversation is actually really, really interrelated. And it really started having me ask myself, the concepts that I'm teaching around my body and around women's bodies, could I somewhat take those concepts and think about them through the lens of money? And this just like really took my relationship with my body and money to a whole nother level, because obviously, I really trust in the Wildly Alive philosophies, and I believe in them so deeply, obviously, teaching these concepts since 2009, and sharing it and sharing the podcast and, growing a business around it. Obviously, I really deeply trust in it. And to mirror that with our relationship with money was really, really an interesting thing for me. is, so I believe it in the body sector, but I'm not so easy to trust it in the money area. And so it's been this evolutionary thing where I have continued to grow and I have continued to challenge myself. And I've taught this money manifestation process. It all started, man, I want to say 2018. I read Jen Sincero's book, You Are a Badass at Making Money. And that book really activated something in me. It was so good. I mean, it was a New York Times bestseller. Like, the book is just hilarious, and she talks about like the poverty mindset that she was in for so long, and I could relate so deeply to so many of the stories that she shared, and a lot of the concepts that we take in the money manifestation kind of process and challenge that we go through in The Weight of Money were really based off of a lot of the philosophies that Jen teaches in that book. And I make that really, really clear as we kind of go through that, because it was such a powerful book for me. And I was like, I really want to like put this into action. She gave a lot of actionables at the end of every chapter of her book. And she doesn't necessarily talk about like a money manifestation challenge. I had done some sort of a money manifestation challenge at some point in the past. And I was like, what if I merged these two things together and like made a money manifestation challenge and took the concepts that Jen teaches and really like put it into like structure, a real hard structure. And I brought it to Wildly Alive, and we started manifesting money, and it was super, super fun. And it was really effective. Like, it really, really did work. I remember the first time I did some sort of money manifestation challenge, I was, I don't remember how much money I was trying to manifest, but something really cool happened at the very last day. So I think it was like a 30-day challenge or something like that. And it was based on mindset. It was not based on like selling your car or selling your children, like it was really about manifesting money on top of your perceived, and planned income. And that's what we do within The Weight of Money as well. This is like money on top of that. And it's not about working harder. It's not about taking on more hours or, another job or anything like that. It's all based in your mindset. And so I remember it was the very last day, and I was, and Zach knew all about it, and we were like tracking it and tracking the money that was coming in every day. And I remember the very last day, I had $500 this was probably in, I don't know, maybe 2014, 2015. And I had $500 left to reach my goal. And it was that day. It was like the end of the day. I had to manifest $500. And I was really on a roll, and I felt so good. And I was like, oh my gosh, this like totally works. Like, this is just so amazing. And it was so empowering to know that I had this level of, I hate to say control, but like this level of empowerment around money in an area where I felt like I just had to work harder, and I wasn't working harder per se. Like, I was just really focusing and being intentional and working through my blocks and all the things. And so I woke up that morning and I took some sort of action to try to manifest this $500 and put myself out there. And, I was coaching at the time, and I asked if anybody wanted to do some extra one-on-one or whatever, and no one was signing up that day. And I remember I picked Zach up from work because his truck was in the shop, and I was telling him, I was like, well, I only have a few more hours left to manifest this $500. And he was like, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, well, there's really nothing else for me to do in terms of like hustling and like kind of the masculine way of thinking of making money. But I was in a place of complete trust, and I was like, I don't know, but I know the universe is going to show up for me, and something really magical is going to happen. And that $500 is coming to me. Like, by the end of the day, I'll be damned. I know it's coming. And it was so funny. We get home and I check the mail, and at the time, if you know this or not, like I am a licensed massage therapist. I don't practice anymore. I only practiced for a few years. I about broke my back. But, I see that massage served a whole different purpose for me. The school was amazing. It was my first taste into personal development and healing and all the things. It was such a great experience, but massage was not meant for me. I was not meant to actually do massage, which I very quickly found out. So anyway, I had this job, as I was moving from a personal training massage therapy business into a coaching business. I was still doing a little bit of massage and personal training. And I was working for this company where they were still paying in checks at that point. And I kept on forgetting to, pick up the check because I was not working there very often at all. And so it wasn't like income that I was really, really relying on heavily. And so what I guess had happened is I had so many checks built up that they just decided to mail them all to me. And I check the mail and I have this big stack of checks, and my heart is just like beating as I'm like tearing out each seal and have my calculator next to me, and I'm tallying up how much money is in all these checks. And you guessed it, by the very last check, it was like $503 had made its way to me by the end of my 30-day money manifestation challenge. And I was just like so elated and flabbergasted and surprised and excited and all the feelings. It was such an invigorating experience, and, really had me start to question my belief system around money even more. And so that's kind of how this all started taking place and how it all started evolving, is, the Weight of Money class. It first started taking form in those moments, and ever since then have been continually perfecting it and then starting to teach it. And really, it's a very, very fun class. Within Wildly Alive, we talk about some very heavy things, which I totally understand. And some classes are a little bit more deep and heavy. And I would say that the money manifestation, like the Weight of Money class that we're doing for the month of March, is super fun. And we take a topic that feels very triggering and very hard to look at, and has a lot of stuff around it, and made it super fun and super enjoyable. And, that's what we're focusing on for the month of March. And, again, what was really interesting as I continued to teach this work is it really highlighted so many areas of our self-care and our investment in ourselves and our self-worth and our relationship with our bodies more than I ever even realized. And so my hope for you, as you listen to the podcast episodes for this month, is you start to see the correlation in the way that I did, and why it's actually a huge piece of Wildly Alive. And again, like at face value, you could think, why are you talking about money in a body-centered program, in a body-centered business? And I totally can get that. But once you really start diving into these podcast episodes, you're going to see the intersection, and the intersection is big, and it makes all the sense. And the beautiful thing about it is that when you start to look at and heal your relationship with money, you synergistically start to do the same with your relationship with yourself and your body. And that is a thread throughout these podcast episodes as you will start to listen to them. And so one little piece that I want to leave you with this particular episode is thinking about your receiving muscle. And this has been some like next level stuff that I've been working on just in the past like year and a half. I've gone through many different belief systems that I've had to work through with my relationship with money. I would say this is the one that I'm still working on mastering, if I'm going to be honest and vulnerable here with you, is looking at my receiving muscle. So as somebody who had this core belief around money that I had to work really hard, there's a lot of value tied to my time and tied to money, right? Like you need to be sacrificing time and energy to be receiving money. And the interesting thing about that is when we actually look at wealth, when we look at people who are wealthy, they can bust through that limiting belief very, very easily, because many very wealthy people are not working themselves to the bone. And very, poor people and people without a lot of money are working themselves to the bone. So you can really challenge that belief system pretty quickly and be like looking at the evidence in the world. And it's like, well, if working hard made you more rich, then lots of people would be rich. And so that's not really the case. And so then this really has me looking at how good are you at receiving? How good are you at receiving? And you don't need to necessarily even start with money. How good are you at receiving compliments? Right? If your partner tells you that you're beautiful or that you look great or thank you for doing something, how quick are you to just deflect it and push it away and say, oh, this old thing, or just try to deflect it by giving them a compliment right back and not truly receiving it, right? Or receiving gifts, or receiving somebody buying you coffee or buying you lunch. How strong is your receiving muscle? I want you to really start thinking about that, because if you cannot receive a compliment, then you cannot receive the money that is already available to you. There is plenty of money available to you right here, right now, in this moment. There is. But if you have a belief system that you have to work hard, or what we call a money brat, in the Weight of Money, we talk about being a money brat all the time, is like meaning you have to know exactly how the money is going to come in, and the money has to come in through my paycheck, and like, how is it going to come in? Well, I don't want money to come in that way. I want it to come in this way. Like I totally did this with my business, for sure. When our net worth was growing as a family, but maybe it wasn't coming in through Wildly Alive like I wanted it to be, I was being a money brat about it. And I was like, well, I just, I want the money to be coming in through Wildly Alive. It just, I'm like, wow, why do I care so much? Like, I'm asking for more wealth. I'm asking to grow my net worth. Yet I'm being a little money brat about it because I think it needs to come in the way that I want it to come in. Right? And so that was like stopping the flow. We have to understand that money is going to work in the path of least resistance. And so that time in my life, I think that was like one of the first or second times I had run this manifestation challenge, I realized that I was becoming a money brat, and I didn't trust the path of least resistance. And so if I trust that money's going to come in the path of least resistance, and I'm not a money brat about it, more channels of money and more paths of least resistance can start channeling through, right? But I was being a money brat about it, and I was starting to like even just close off the one path of least resistance. And so really just looking at how good are you at receiving? How good are you at relaxing? Like when we talk with Wildly Alive sister Bree, she talks about using Instacart and how before Wildly Alive, she would have never done that. But it saves her 2 hours and it cost her $10. And it's like, okay, where is your receiving muscle at? How strong is your receiving muscle at that point? Because if you're going to save 2 hours for $10, I'm sure you would see that your time is worth $5 an hour, right? And so then it's like, what are you going to do with that 2 hours? Are you going to scrub the kitchen floor because your worth is so tied up into your value? Or can you take a bath and read a book for those 2 hours? Can you receive somebody supporting you and helping you while you are relaxing? You see what I'm saying here? And so there's it's complex and there's a lot to it, but I just want you to start really starting to strengthen your receiving muscle. When somebody gives you a compliment, can you just take it and not deflect it, or not just respond back with a compliment, which is deflecting, right? If somebody wants to buy you coffee, let them. Feel thankful. Receive it. Receive the gifts. Receive the compliments. Receive what it has to offer you. And know that what you're doing is you're expanding your receiving muscle so you can also start receiving the self-care that you really deserve, the time to take care of your body and take care of yourself at the level that you really want to, and also receive the money that's already available to you, so you can stop being all tied up into like, I have to work hard for my money, right? And this like badge of honor that we carry around working really hard and being super busy, and thinking that being lazy and relaxing and caring for yourself is somewhat selfish. It's not selfish when you are at the core of everything. When you are the main energy holder in your home, with your children, in your marriage, in your career, in your friendships, when you are at the core of that, when you are depleted and you're empty, the quality in which you give is crap, right? And so you have to fill yourself up. It's not a luxury, it's a requirement if you really want to thrive in this life. So start practicing receiving. And I'm really excited for you to dive into the episodes this month, because they are so powerful, and it's going to get you thinking in a really good way. And of course, we would absolutely love to have you in the Weight of Money. If you have never taken a class with us before, your intro rate is $111. You can come in and manifest some money and really feel empowered in an area where you maybe don't feel so empowered. And you can also redo this process anytime you get a little pinched for cash and you want to bring money in without stressing out or hustling or working harder. You can just go through this manifestation process. It's so powerful. So you can go to wildlyalive.com/111 and join us. We would love to have you. It is super, super fun. It is one of the more lighthearted classes for sure. We have a really, really good time. So either way, keep yourself open to receiving. You see a penny on the ground. That's so exciting, right? Like, we could just walk right by it, or we can shift our perspective and say, and we do this all throughout the class, and we have like celebration is big, and like posting coins on the ground and things like that is actually something that we do a lot to keep us in this receiving energy. Is, we see that penny on the ground, take a picture of it, and we're like, oh my gosh, the universe is conspiring for my wealth. Check it out. Look, I found a penny on my walk. And it's so fun. It is so fun to see how wealthy and abundant you already are, because what you focus on expands. And if all you're doing is focusing on the lack of money and abundance that you have in your life, you're going to create more of that. And this entire experience within the Weight of Money is taking the concept, what you focus on expands, and focusing on how incredibly well off and abundant you already are. And I've had women go through this who are on disability, who are not, they don't have a job. They have manifested money. Like, I have had single mom or stay-home moms who don't have a job manifest money. Like, it's been so powerful, because at the bottom line of this manifestation challenge is what you focus on expands. So if we can focus on how incredibly wealthy you are in many different ways, and shift that perspective, how you open up a channel of wealth that you never even realized was there. Because there's money literally available to you right there, right now. It's like right here, right above your head. But you have to remove the block to open the channel and let it in. So it's going to be super, super fun. But either way, enjoy the podcast. And when in doubt, ask your body. Bye. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you would like to listen to all the podcasts for this month on this topic, you go to sameteampodcast.com and you will see all of the podcasts for this whole month uploaded there. And our next episode, you will meet Wildly Alive sister Bree. Now, Bree came into just the class, Weight of Money class. She really just wanted to focus on her relationship with money. And then as she dove in and she started learning about the money mindset paired with the Wildly Alive philosophies, it blew her wide open. She ended up jumping into mastery. She's getting ready to graduate and her life is completely different. She left a toxic marriage. She bought a home. She bought a truck. Like, it is truly amazing. She welcomed in amazing man into her life. Like, just wait until you hear Bree's story. It's quite profound. And we also share some really good nuggets and some actionables that you can take around your relationship with money now, here, today. So again, just go to sameteampodcast.com and you can listen to that. And as mentioned in this episode, if you would like to join us in manifesting some money in the Weight of Money class, go to wildlyalive.com/111 and let's have a good time manifesting some money, having some good laughs, and watching our bank account grow.